Hi everyone, welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. It's a brand new year and it's a brand new occasions catalog. Those 55 pages are filled with beautiful products. Among those pages is a stamp set called Heart Happiness, and I'm excited to teach you a card using that stamp set today. We're going to be pairing it with the Color Theory Ombre Designer Series paper, and of course it's got some bling. Let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started on today's project. Here's a good close-up of the card that we're going to be creating today. That beautiful ombre effect is actually part of the Color Theory Designer Series paper. Like almost all of the designer papers with Stampin' Up, they're double-sided, so the package gives you lots and lots of choices. I've cut this to mimic the card front, which we're cutting the long way today, 4 1/4 by 11. I've already scored it at 5 1/2, and I'm going to use my bone folder to get that nice crisp edge. You're going to find all the cutting dimensions over on my blog. If you're here from YouTube, the link is right in the description bar below, making it easy for you to navigate. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. I'm going to do some stamping on that at the end, but let's work on the focal point. I've got a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I've pulled out this striped heart and a small floral bouquet from the stamp set called Heart Happiness. I fell in love with this because hearts can be used all year round for all different types of greetings. So anything from birthday to get well, thinking of you, missing you, sympathy, this covers it all. And there's all kinds of fun things you can do with heart shapes. I'm going to be having a Facebook Live event on January 18th that you're not going to want to miss. I'm going to show you some additional ideas using this stamp set. This stamp set actually coordinates with 2 different Framelits sets, and I'm using this one primarily, the Sweet and Sassy Framelits. Love the 2 different shaped hearts, and they're in cascading sizes, which makes you be able to create everything from small to large and be able to layer them really well. You'll find this stamp set in the brand new Occasions catalog. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you would like a copy, I'd be happy to send you a complimentary one. Just leave me a comment. So the stamp set here is on page 20, but you're going to notice that this heart actually fits the die in these framelits called Lots to Love box framelits. I didn't want to buy 2 different framelit sets, and I found that my use of the Sweet and Sassy hearts and the different layers were going to be a much better buy for me. So that's what I'm going to be using. So we're going to actually have to fussy cut this one, but you know what? It's no big deal because it's really a simple shape. I'm using Memento ink. That's my ink of choice when I have photopolymer, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up my heart. You're going to notice too that my photopolymer looks kind of pink, and that's because I've used it in a darker pink or red before. Now it does stain the photopolymer, but it absolutely has no effect on its performance. And I love the stamp because do you see the variegation inside the stamped image, giving that real worn look? Now while I have the Memento pad out on that same scrap, I'm going to stamp that little rose with the leaves, and I'm going to stamp that over here because I'm going to die cut that one. You always want to make sure when you're working with black that you give it a couple seconds to dry. The last thing you want to do is smear it. I'm going to bring in the Berry Burst ink pad, which actually coordinates with this designer series paper. And I've got a sponge dauber here. Finger goes inside, making it easy to use. We're going to go ahead and ink that up, and I'm going to put a very small amount right inside here, and I'm using a small swirling effect. That's going to allow me to decide how light or how dark I want the flower, and I'm not worried about staying inside the lines. I want to look for that whimsical type of appearance to coordinate with my heart. So I've got my paper snips, and I'm just going to separate these and set that one aside. We're going to die cut that one, and I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this out. You're going to notice that I'm leaving a little bit of white cardstock all the way around the edges, and I do recommend that. Especially if you notice when you use framelits, it does the same thing most times. And that's because it won't distort the image if you cut right on the inked line. I don't know about you, but I can't cut perfectly straight, so this gives me a little wiggle room to make sure that I don't cut the actual image. I've got my Big Shot here, and I've got my magnetic platform, and this is my personal favorite when I'm working with framelits because it helps hold them in place. I'm putting a clear cutting mat on the bottom. Remember that little flower? So I'm going to put that here. It actually fits inside one of those hearts. So I'm going to go ahead and line that up the best that I can. And if you're like me and you're having trouble and this is slipping on you and you want to make sure that it doesn't, here's a tip for you. Go ahead and use a Post-it note and secure the Post-it note where you want it. So I'm just going to tape that down. It won't mar the paper, so you don't have to worry about that. Another clear mat over the top to protect it, and then I'm just going to crank it through. Any popping or snapping you hear on your Big Shot is all normal. It has to do with the rollers that are underneath that are compressing the die. I can usually get a couple uses out of that. And there we go. We've got our cute little heart. We're back here at the base of the card, and the great thing about this ombre paper is this lighter section that allows you to stamp a greeting. I'm choosing my sentiment from the stamp set called Lovely Friends. Lots of fun phrases in here, including some real pretty floral images. It is photopolymer as well, and you'll find this in the annual catalog. So I've pulled out the word love, and I'm going back to my Memento ink, and I'm going to ink that up. And I'm going to stamp that just off center here at the bottom. I'm going to flip that over and use my snail adhesive. Put a little bit around the edges here. Because I'm covering the whole base, I'm going to be a little bit more generous than I normally would be. And then I'm going to line that up here and cover the entire base of my card. All right, so now the whole front of the card is covered with the designer paper. Let's go ahead and mount the couple hearts, but I'm going to give you a couple tips about this. I'm going to cover the back with dimensionals, and I'm going to be really generous because I'm going to add some metallic thread. And I want to make sure that I have dimensionals in the areas the thread may fall to make sure that it holds it in place. So I've got that paper off there, got that all ready. I'm grabbing my black metallic thread. I also know that this area is going to be fairly wide, so I'm going to use my hand as a guide. So I'm going to start here at the bottom. I'm going to leave a tail, and then I'm going to wrap loosely because I want to make sure this is actually bigger than my hand. Oh, 3 or 4 times is good. I'm cinching it in the center. Take my scissors and cut off that raw end, and then here on the heart, and then I'm actually going to place this across my heart. And then I'm going to separate these once I get this on the cardstock, so I'll make sure that it's anchored in place. The great thing about metallic thread, if you don't have it where you want, you can literally just lift it up carefully and reuse it. That's a great thing. And I'm going to mount this here near the bottom, making sure that this stays within the circumference of my envelope. And then I'm going to separate my little loops. This is meant to be whimsical. I just kind of like that little free-flowing look here. And remember this little heart here? We're going to grab one more dimensional for the back and take off that paper backing. And I'm going to layer this one a little bit over this one. So I'm going to lay that one here. I love bling, so I think this card needs a little bit. And I absolutely love these glitter enamel dots. These are fabulous because they come in graduated colors, very much like this designer paper. So I'm going to go ahead and use the Berry Burst ones here. I'm going to use a little bit darker one here. I'm going to place that one down here at the bottom. And you can see here that these are almost completely colorless. So I'm going to grab one of these. That'll bring out a little bit of that white color here. And then I'm going to go for a smaller one. I'm going to mount that one here. Really simple card. Would be great for anniversaries, weddings, of course, Valentine's Day. It's coming up. I know. It seems like we just finished Christmas and we're already working on the next holiday cards. So here's the one we created today, the one I created before you joined me. Remember too, this is Stampin' Up's largest sale of the year, Celebration. For every $50 in product that you spend from either the occasions or annual catalog, you can choose any free product in here of your choice marked with the $50 insignia. Now, if you happen to spend $100, there's also a really fabulous free product in the back if you choose to select it, or you can choose 2 from the $50 range. Lots of great stuff in here. Head over to my blog where you'll find pictures and cutting dimensions and this month's host code. If you spend $50, not only do you get your free product, but you're also going to get another free gift from me. Details are under the rewards tab. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.